Hi friends, and welcome to my channel, Homemaking on the Homestead. I'm Crystal, and today I am going to talk about my one word for April. As you know, I always let you know I started this in January, and I'll have my January, February, and March word video links listed below. And I try to come up with one word just to ponder and think about throughout the month. And this month I had 2 or 3 ideas, and then finally the one word that really just struck a chord with me was bloom. And I just thought it was fitting with spring because I'm looking all around me and the flowers are popping up. I've seen pretty daffodils and all kinds of little tiny flowers emerging and blooming, and so it also made me think of the saying, bloom where you are planted. There is nothing original about that saying. It's been around for a very long time. And I know all of you have heard that saying. There's a lot of artwork even, around the word. You can purchase pictures and plaques and throw pillows, and, you can purchase t-shirts that say bloom where you are planted. It's very popular. So, being the person that I am, I had to look up the origins of the word. Where did this come from? If you look in the Bible, you won't find that Bible verse anywhere. But where did it come from? So I found it very interesting. It came from, okay, I had to look it up because I forgot already. It came from St. Francis de Sales. He was the Bishop of Geneva, and he lived from 1567 to 1622. Who knew? I had no idea. Okay, and this is what his original saying said. True charity has no limit, for the love of God has been poured into our hearts by His Spirit, dwelling in each one of us, calling us to a life of devotion and inviting us to bloom in the garden where He has planted and directing us to radiate the beauty and spread the fragrance of His providence. So that is where the saying originated. Now, I don't have any idea who he is, but that's what I found as I was doing my research. The artist Mary Engelbreit, I believe, is her name, and she is the one that is credited for turning the saying, bloom where you are planted, into all the artwork and things that I just described. In that saying, bloom where you are planted, I was thinking about the fact that making the most of what we have in our life and what is just around us is one key factor in finding our purpose in life. When I was a young mother and I had lots of children at home and I was constantly busy, I was making meals, I was keeping the house clean, I was homeschooling, and taking care of the needs of my children and taking care of my husband and all those things, I had tremendous purpose. As the years went by and my children began to leave home one by one, it became even more, a thought in my mind. Well, what is my purpose in life? And it's very interesting because at that point, I no longer had 20 loads of laundry to do every week. I no longer had, activities to be involved in like Awanas and Vacation Bible School and church activities. It was relating to my children. It was a very, a time where I really had to ponder the whole point of purpose. It also made me remember a story that I had read in a magazine years ago about a young mother who was looking at a globe and, wishing that the Lord would just send her off to some important work and important mission in life, some sort of missionary type work. And in the background were her children needing her attention, and a sink full of dirty dishes, and a house that needed taken care of. And in that, you see the message that it's right there in front of you. Your purpose and your ministry is right there in front of you. And even though today I don't have children in my home anymore, my own children at least, I have grandchildren, but I don't have that same responsibility anymore. And so the thought of purpose and what is life about has certainly been something on my mind over the last few years as my children, as I said, left one by one. One of the things that I know is that God has given us all talents. He's given us gifts, and He has given us those things for the purpose of blessing other people and in glorifying Him in the process. And when we find our purpose, that is where we begin to bloom. And the other thing I've noticed is that we don't have to go looking for it. It's usually right in front of us, and we need to take stock of what is it that's right in front of us, and what is God calling us to do. He has planted us right where we are, and as homemakers, He has planted us in our home. He has given us a family, friends, neighbors, community, church. He has given us those things right where we are so that we can bloom. We don't need to be just in the right place in order for that to happen. I think of the story in Jeremiah where the children of Israel were taken into captivity, and they were asking God. They did not know how long they would be there, and they were asking God, what are we to do now? And this is what God told him. And what I'm reading comes from Jeremiah 29, verses 5 to 7. And it says, build houses and dwell in them, plant gardens and eat their fruit. Take wives and beget sons and daughters. And take wives for your sons and give your daughters to husbands, so that they may bear sons and daughters, that you may be increased there and not diminish. And seek the peace of the city where I have caused you to be carried away captive, and pray to the Lord for it, for in its peace you will have peace. Basically, my understanding of it is that you are going to be there for a while. So take root, live your life, and in doing so, you're going to find peace. And in that peace, of course, comes the purpose for all of us. So we don't need to be in just the right place in order to bloom, in order to have something exciting and wonderful for the ministry of God. We need to look right where we are, no matter what our circumstances are, and bloom. Also in Jeremiah 17, verses 7 and 8, it says, blessed is the man who trusts in the Lord and whose hope is in the Lord, for he shall be like a tree planted by the waters, which spreads out its roots by the river, and will not fear when heat comes, but its leaf will be green, and will not be anxious in the year of drought, nor will cease from yielding fruit. Again, doesn't matter where we are. We can take root, we can be nourished, and we can bless others, and we can bloom. I think it's important also that we are always nourished. Just like a plant needs to be nourished, it needs good soil, it needs to be watered, it needs to establish very deep roots to become a very strong, healthy plant. And as Christian ladies, all Christians, but I'm speaking to you all who may be listening, we need to have the same nourishment in our life. We need time spent in the Word. We need time to refresh and nourish our soul. We need time in prayer. We need to spend time every day living out our faith through our walk with the Lord. And in that, we find our purpose, and we find where God has put us and allowed us to bloom for His glory. Colossians 2, 6 and 7 says, as you therefore have received Christ Jesus the Lord, so walk in Him, rooted and built up in Him, and established in the faith, as you have been taught, abounding in it with thanksgiving. Even in the most difficult of times in my life, I have known that there is purpose right in front of me, that God has put me in difficult places just for the fact that I can bloom and I can show His glory in some way. So even in the most difficult of situations, we can bloom. And it makes me think of the verse in Philippians, and Paul was speaking, Philippians 4, 11 to 13, and it says, not that I speak in regard to need, for I have learned in whatever state I am to be content. I know how to be abased, and I know how to abound. Everywhere and in all things I have learned both to be full and to be hungry, both to abound and to suffer need. I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. And I think that I've always looked at that verse as in regard to contentment, but I think it also has to do with finding our purpose and blooming wherever it is that God puts us. Sometimes purpose comes from understanding that what we are searching for is literally always going to be right in front of us, because God has planted us right where we are. He has given us those gifts and talents, and we need to look around. I always have used the saying, what do I have in my hands right now? Whether it is cooking dinner or trying to meet the need of some project that I'm doing, I always ask myself, well, what do I have right in my hands? And what is it that God has already given me? And I really believe that finding our purpose is also the same thing. It's what do we have right in front of us? And maybe asking ourselves, what are my gifts? What are the talents that God has given me? And praying about how to use them best. And it's wonderful to know that we can have deep roots that are well nourished, and that we can bloom right where we are planted. All right, friends, that is my word for April, bloom. So, as always, leave me some comments. Tell me what you think and what your thoughts are on blooming where you are planted. I would love to know that. All right, you guys, I will see you all in my next video. Bye-bye.